I'm Rennie Dickens, and I've been the chairman of the group since it was formed in 2006. First meeting was at the Little Harp in Clevedon, and I think we had 5 people turn up. 2006, gosh, yes, it's a long time ago. And we've now got about 150 members. It's a local history group, really. We don't have any ambitions, despite the odd member having such an ambition, but we don't actually have an ambition to reopen the railway. We just want to really make sure people were aware of it and were aware of its significance, and in some ways also look at the future and whether maybe sections of the alignment all the way down the coast could be used as a cycle route. Some of that's actually borne fruit, and you may be aware that there's a link between Kingston Seymour and Wick St Lawrence, which is in process at the moment. So that should open later this year or next year, depending upon the finance from North Somerset Council. Yeah.
So obviously the railway, or the story of the railway, is important in so much as, you know, we don't want any of these things to be lost, and groups like your group will keep them together, you know, keep them there in the public eye. So on from that, the exhibition that you had at the museum, you know, what made you want to do an exhibition at Weston?
Well, Weston, the original line went from Clevedon to Weston, just so it didn't include Portishead, and we felt that there was a preponderance of members of the group from the north end of the line, from the Clevedon, Portishead, Bristol area. So we wanted to raise the profile in Weston in particular, and so this was an ideal opportunity actually to raise the profile in Weston and tell the story. It really has, that was one of the might have beens, really, because originally the intention was to link it with the tram system, which was about the same time. I think the tram system opened in 1902 and the railway opened just before that in 1897. But the idea was to run down the boulevard and link up with the tram system. That it was all the same gauge, so that it would have been a route to the seafront. It's rather a shame actually that didn't happen, because that's a real might have been, because having their terminus at Ashcombe Road was quite a long way away from the seafront. There was some friction between the railway company and the Weston-super-Mare Council at the time. Nothing new there. It actually was exactly the same in Clevedon. There was a lot of hoo-ha in Clevedon about the extension from Clevedon onwards to Portishead. So, you know, there are 1 or 2 opportunities perhaps lost. But I mean, there were 2 other might have beens that I think are really worth considering, incidentally. One of them is that the bridge from Kingston Seymour to Wick St Lawrence was originally intended to be a road bridge and a rail bridge. And I think, well, you'll know, Chris, that in the summer, that would have been such a useful link, because the motorway is chock-a-block. And otherwise, you've got to go out through Congersbury to, you know, it's just ridiculous how far around it is. So if that had been a road and railway bridge, I think it would still be there. It would have been too valuable to have lost. The third might have been was really later on, when in the 1950s there was a proposal to reopen from World to somewhere in Clevedon, Salthouse Fields in Clevedon, as a narrow gauge railway. Now that, I think, if that had been perhaps another 10 years later on, I think that might have captured the imagination. It was a bit earlier, actually. There was one scheme called the Tylwyth Llyn in Wales at that time. but there was nothing really like that anywhere else apart from that. And I think that might have been because it all finished in 1940, and I think by the 50s, people had started to retake some of the land, and it was just too early anyway. But that's a might have been. I mean, I quite like the idea of a narrow gauge railway from Weston to Clevedon. I think that would be quite popular.
Yes, I'm sure it could have been turned into a very much a tourist attraction.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's a bit of a shame that, but
Yeah.
so when we had this opportunity to come to Weston, I vaguely remembered going around the museum and how rather charming the museum itself was. So I decided to come and have another look, and it was even better than the first time I went there because it was free this time. And that probably tells you how long ago it was I went there the first time. But also we were very fortunate in Jane Hill and yourself as the kind of community liaison, because you made it very easy for us, because there was quite a lot of iteration between us. And you know, to get the museum right, we also had to deal with Taunton, with the Heritage Centre, and you actually took control of that. And that's another thing really which is so good, is that you said that you would keep all the stuff or copies of the stuff actually at the Heritage Centre afterwards, so it's there for posterity, which we rather liked the idea of. So it all came together very well, and we thought it was a lovely little exhibition. We were so pleased with it. It did exactly what we wanted. On the back of that, we had an article in the Bristol Post, although that's at the Bristol end again. but I think you also put some stuff on Facebook, so there was extra publicity. Yeah, I think it was very successful, and it was only interrupted, if you remember, by just a few weeks at the end with this COVID business. So
Yes.
we just about got away with it. And so yeah, it was great. Really enjoyed it, and you took a load off of our shoulders in organising it.